Hello and welcome back to another Olares Project, episode number 10. So, in what is going to end up being the strangest plot twist of this entire series. And I'm not going to give you the surprise, but I will do a quick recap. So, in episode 9, the combination of Gemma 4 26 billion parameter model in conjunction with Hermes agent almost made it across the finish line with task number 3. A little bit of a context output window ceiling that got reached, but it was almost there. And of course, there's been a lot of learning on my part throughout this entire process, including some YAML file and JSON file adjustments along the way. Which brings me to the last model and agent pairing combination. As irony would have it, and this might be the shortest video of the entire series, because what you're seeing here, you're seeing a pool agent install in the IDE on code server. And I ask what I would consider the obvious question, which was read agent or read agent contest.md. I'll help you read that, right? Yeah. So let's get that for you. So I was hopeful. Now Gemma is running in the background, and I will say this. I went back and forth with trying to confirm whether Gemma actually was running in the background, and it was. And it just stopped. I mean, it just didn't go any further. So, list the files that you can access. That was the next prompt. And then it made the admission. I don't have direct access to browse files on your computer or system. And there you go, folks. There you go. So, effectively, for episode 10, there may be a episode 11 with a different AI agent model pairing. I'm not saying that there is, but I am saying that I am researching the options. So let me recap this whole thing. So initially it was a single model, a little bit of a custom model, high-end, high-performance model. And after 2 attempts with just OpenClaw, because I couldn't get NemoClaw to work, those 2 models didn't get the job done. It was a fallback to a widely available open source, open weight model, Gemma 4, 26 billion parameter model. And that seemed to make some substantial progress, but OpenClaw couldn't get it across the finish line. And Hermes came this close, so close, yet so far away. Well, in effect, in this whole F1 racetrack test simulation, this is the worst. Hey guys, poolside, please forgive me when I say this. It's not that I don't want to have your agent work. It's just, it couldn't even get off the, it couldn't get out of pit row effectively. This is what we're looking at. It functions, it does the thing, but insofar as the access to the source files in the repo, it went nowhere. It went absolutely nowhere. So I finally got the right model, which acted as the car, so to speak. Got the right mixture of agents, I thought, to at least get one lap around the track to prove that this was all worth the effort. And mind you, I want to tell you, so this is also going to serve kind of as a retrospective video because it's worth noting. There was a big, very big, ambitious plan to actually do something like this, where Olama was serving the model in the background. Code server acted as the validator. OpenClaw CLI was going to be the actual pit crew in addition to the test driver. NemoClaw CLI was going to do the same function, and then Hermes agent CLI was going to do the same thing. So in effect, there was going to be a bunch of API calls across these Docker containers to really show not just what the Olares one is capable of, but really to demonstrate the art of the possible. And so this was the grand ambition. Subsequently, it got scaled back to something that was relatively workable. Now, if you've watched my YouTube channel for any length of time, if you've seen my post on LinkedIn, if you've heard me speak in person, I'm a software product development guy. My goal is always to create a minimum viable product, something that works in order to show a user, a stakeholder, a client, a customer, what could be built based on what we understand today. And then, of course, build additional capability along the way. And so this really started as this great ambition and ultimately scaled back to an MVP that really taught me a number of things, not the least of which that big upfront planning is fine, but sometimes you got to start with smaller iterations in order to get something out the door. So I'm not saying that this is a limitation of the hardware at all. Part of this is a limitation of my technical skill and my willingness to spend hours, if not days, doing a lot of heavy lifting and potentially code generation and a bunch of wiring behind the scenes. And believe me, I've invested a significant amount of time just to get it to this place with a kickoff in addition to the 9.5 episodes that are already on the channel in this particular playlist. And, the project, in my opinion, based on just what I've experienced and what I've learned along the way and what the capability of this hardware and running models locally represents, this should be inspiring. And I'm saying this because in previous videos, I've been very clear. I don't take on small challenges. I take on big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs, if you will, because if you don't go big, how are you going to ever scale back to something that might work? Big idea, which is the whole reason why we structure things in this series of boxes, an epic being multiple months, maybe even a year. And then we put inside that epic a bunch of features, and inside those features, a bunch of user stories, and inside those users, the task breakdown structure. When we talk through, iterative and agile software development approaches. So I'm approaching it the same way and using scientific rigor and saying, okay, this experiment didn't work. What did I learn? What can I do differently in the next one? And so forth and so on. So it became a feed forward process that really, it delights me that I've got the hardware to do the experiments on. It delights me the fact that the BEC lab team, my Olares partner, was willing to help me get through some of the technical hurdles initially, even to the point of helping me qualify whether or not NemoClaw was worth pursuing, because this is effectively OpenClaw inside of a secured sandbox that NVIDIA designed to allow users to use OpenClaw without some of the vulnerabilities and other risks involved. And just learning all of that and growing in the process, becoming better, building my own Hermes agent before the actual Docker package came out. Wow. If I hadn't dreamt big about this, if I hadn't been like, yeah, I'm going for it, and spending quite a bit of time with the actual design in perplexity. In fact, you know what? Let me put it on pause real quick. We're about 10 minutes in. I want to show you what this original design looked like. I'll be right back with you. All right. So this is the original agent competition blueprint, and right here, all of this was a grand design to make stuff work in a spectacular fashion. And, while it certainly didn't, I'm I'm not going to lie. There's a bit of disappointment in all of this, but that's okay. I mean, the disappointment is not in the sense that there is failure involved. The disappointment was that really, in spite of my best efforts, I wasn't able to get this to go even one full cycle or one full lap on the test track. That's where the disappointment is. Now, mind you, I'm looking at another agent. I'm looking at, pairing that with what I will consider the base Gemma 4 26B model, specifically because that seems to be the one that nominally works. But I think equally as important, I need to get into the YAML file, but I don't know. I haven't installed this agent. And so this is me really hypothesizing whether I can raise that ceiling in the similar fashion that I did with Hermes to get this one agent all the way around the track. So in this episode, being episode 10, you're hearing both my delight and my frustration because I didn't know how far I could get in this journey, even with great support behind me, because I've never done anything like this before. I never even thought of this. I'm a fan of Formula One racing, and I went, wow, what if I could use Formula One as this metaphor to do something really cool on this AI appliance that allows me to run these fairly large open source models, and what might that look like? So all of that was worth what went into it to get to this video. And I say that because I think oftentimes, there's just, unfortunately, call it whatever you want to call it, I know for me, it's sometimes a little voice in the back of my head saying, well, you're not technical enough, Tim. You're probably not going to figure this out in a reasonable amount of time. And you're going to spend a whole lot of time and energy into all of this. And the juice won't be worth the squeeze. But I didn't take that voice seriously. Instead, I decided that, what? I've got tools. I've got the ability to think critically about this thing. I can troubleshoot most things. There are going to be some things that are just beyond my technical understanding. I've got an ability to phone a friend. I've got the ability to uninstall and reinstall, to restart Docker containers, to do all kinds of things that might make this stuff work. So I didn't allow what would be considered obvious and inherent boundaries or barriers to stop me from making progress. And really, if you think about it, this is representative of progress. Is it leaps and bounds? Does it actually align with the grand design and blueprint? Of course not. It's not the point. Pardon me for being preachy about this. But what this does represent is the fact that technology has gotten to a place where many of us who would not have even entertained something even remotely as complicated as this can start dreaming this way, can start really thinking about what could be built, and not just on an Olares One, but what could be built on a smaller device, a less capable device, in combination with cloud-based models, doing a lot of different things, a lot of variation, a lot of different patterns, putting things together. Think of it this way as a metaphor or analogy. You've been given a box of Lego blocks and you're told to build something, but you don't have a blueprint. You don't have a design. You have your creative imagination to build something based on this box of Lego blocks. This is what generative AI, and more broadly AI, whether that be classical machine learning or deterministic models or rules-based systems, this is what AI gives us. And things like this platform, this appliance, just give us a great starting point on a personal level. even on a small team level. So stay tuned. This may or may not be the last Olares Project video, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise because, you wouldn't watch or wait for the next video if I did. So in this particular case, I'm already at 16 some odd minutes giving you both a retrospective as well as the, hey, by the way, Pool as an agent couldn't even get out of pit row. This wraps up episode number 10 of the Olares Project, brought to you by Tim Unscripted. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.